Vijay Mallya has never been a quiet man. The 62-year-old who faces extradition from Britain to India on fraud and money laundering charges inherited his father's business empire when he died suddenly in 1983. He has been in the spotlight ever since, known for his flamboyance and ostentation. Hello and welcome to Money Mindfuck. Before we begin, don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel for more intriguing videos like this, and be sure to watch this video to the end. Therefore, anytime we upload a new video, you will be notified so you don't miss out on interesting videos from us. So, without further ado, let's dive in. Mallya was the only child of Vijay Mallya, a successful but frugal drinks entrepreneur. Vijay was raised in Kolkata by his mother while his father was in Bangalore running his breweries. But he was constantly pressed by his father, who threatened that unless he conformed and studied hard, he would not inherit the family business and fortune. According to reports, this paternal pressure created insecurity for the son, who was a spendthrift from a young age. However, Vijay died unexpectedly, and Vijay inherited everything as his only child. He immediately began a business career that grew the UB Group into a multinational conglomerate with more than 50% of the Indian beer market and the largest player in local spirit production through United Spirits. Shaw Wallace, a larger and more reputable company whose key brand was Royal Challenge Whiskey, was one of his first targets. However, to avoid local alcohol ownership laws, Mallya needed a foreign frontman and thus partnered with Gulf-based Manu Chabaria. They won the company, but Chabaria pulled a fast one, taking over Shaw Wallace entirely on his own because Mallya's name was nowhere to be found in the formal documents. However, in 1991, India's liquor laws were relaxed, and Mallya took advantage of them by rapidly expanding. When he inherited the group, his companies sold only 2.5 million cases per year, but by 1995, his drinks empire had grown to become the world's 10th largest, and by 2001, he was selling 26 million cases. When Chabaria died, Shaw Wallace was finally absorbed into Mallya's empire. Mallya appeared to have a golden touch. As the new millennium dawned, the Kingfisher beer brand had become global, and Mallya himself had embarked on a program of self-promotion that saw him claim to be the king of good times. He became the primary backer of the Force India Formula One racing team, as well as the owner of the Indian Premier League cricket team Royal Challengers Bangalore. He traveled by private jet, owned a luxury yacht, amassed a collection of iconic vintage cars, and resided in opulent estates around the world. He was constantly surrounded by Bollywood celebrities. The fall of the empire. Its business model was jeopardized as soon as the global recession hit 2007-8. The cost of fuel increased, the number of passengers decreased, and the airline, which had never made a profit, declared bankruptcy in 2012. Creditors personally demanded Mallya's payment, the aircraft was seized, and thousands of employees went unpaid. Kingfisher's debt, estimated at 112 million Indian crore, was restructured in 2010 under a Special Reserve Bank of India scheme. Creditors converted 14 billion Indian crore in debt into a 23% stake in the carrier at a price per share that was 61% higher than the going rate. Mallya personally guaranteed Kingfisher's debts. However, the airline, which had never made a profit, continued to bleed as a result of an industry-wide tariff war and a sharp depreciation of the Indian currency. Mallya has asked Congress to lower aviation fuel taxes or liberalize aviation to allow foreign airlines to participate in Indian carriers. He begged and begged, adding that he had already made a deal with a foreign airline, but his efforts were futile. When employees who had not been paid for 7 months left their jobs, Kingfisher was finally suspended in October 2012. After a few weeks, New Delhi announced that foreign airlines would be allowed to purchase stakes in Indian carriers. Jet Airlines, which was also in financial trouble, sold a 24% stake to Etihad Airways in the United Arab Emirates for 28 billion Indian crore. For Kingfisher, however, it was too late. The after effects. Caught in legalities. Mallya now cuts a depressing figure in the face of unfavorable decisions. He must either dig deep into his pockets to pay his creditors or risk never returning to India. In 2013, he filed a lawsuit in the Bombay Supreme Court alleging that the personal guarantees he provided during the 2010 debt restructuring were obtained under duress when the State Bank of India threatened to pull out of the deal on the last day. After all of the work, dismissals from the Central Bank of India, and everything else, it was not an option to leave everything on the last day. However, prior to the airline's demise, Mallya obtained loans from a consortium of Indian banks totaling more than 95 billion Indian crore. According to Indian banks and authorities, he fraudulently misappropriated funds for foreign interests, including Force India, and never intended to repay the debts. Mallya, for his part, has consistently denied any wrongdoing. He stated that the funds were loaned to Kingfisher and that they intend to support the airline until conditions improved and it could successfully negotiate. Despite his best efforts to save the company, he claims he was the victim of a genuine business meltdown. The allegations of fraud and money laundering took on a political tone when opposition parties claimed that Mallya's position as a member of the Indian Senate was used to persuade state banks to make loans that would never be considered under normal circumstances. Mallya also attempted to raise funds by selling assets. Diageo acquired a 55% stake in Mallya's United Spirits in a series of transactions, but Mallya did not personally benefit because his shares had already been pledged as collateral to banks. But he remained president for the time being. However, the relationship with Diageo quickly soured, and Diageo and United Spirits are suing Mallya for £250 million in accounting irregularities and breach of contract. Despite protests that he has more than enough assets to pay for his debts, pressure has mounted in India's courts, where he has been declared a proclaimed offender and a fugitive economic criminal. He was also found guilty of contempt of court for failing to fully disclose his assets. Fleeing the country. Mallya allegedly fled to Britain on March 2, 2016 after being informed that he was about to be arrested. He claims it was a normal part of his lifestyle and business. In April 2016, the DE asked a special court in Mumbai to issue an arrest warrant for Mallya. The DE sought a warrant against the Baron for violations of the Money Laundering Prevention Act of 2002. The warrant was granted to ED by the court. Mallya allegedly diverted approximately 4,000 crore from India. He was later arrested on an international warrant by the Metropolitan Police, and hearings on India's request for him to face fraud and money laundering charges began in December 2017. He was granted bail of £650,000 and ordered to turn over his documents. Government's action. Separately, India has placed a worldwide freeze on Mallya's assets, which has been confirmed by an English court. His plane, as well as his yacht and numerous other Indian properties, were seized and sold. Force India was put in charge, and Mallya lost his stake before being rescued. He no longer has any sway over the Royal Challengers Bangalore. Mallya has always claimed that Prime Minister Narendra Modi's government is conducting a political witch hunt against him. A change in government could have serious consequences for him. On April 10, 2020, Federal Supreme Court Insolvency Division Judge Michael Briggs awarded Mallya compensation, stating that he must allow time for his petitions to the Supreme Court of India and his proposed settlement before the Supreme Court. Karnataka's courts are determined, giving them time to pay their bank debts in full. What does Mallya have to say? Despite his repeated protests that he wants to settle with the banks, Mallya has no idea that he is willing to make a better offer and appears resigned to the possibility of living in exile in India for an extended period. He wishes he could return to India. But if the government makes it impossible to obtain justice, I must be content with what I have, he asked the banks, hands folded. He immediately withdrew 100% of their principal and avoided the Royal Courts of Justice in London. The execution board attached the assets of the bank's complaint that I wasn't paying them. I did not commit any offense under the PMLA, Money Laundering Prevention Act, that would warrant the Executive Directorate of Execution attaching my property, Mallya stated. I'm asking banks to please take your money. The DE says no because we have a complaint about these assets. On the one hand, DE is fighting for the same assets as banks, Mallya explained. When asked about returning to India, he stated that he should be where his family and interests are. What's ahead? The two-member bench that presided over the appeal, Judge Stephen Irwin and Judge Elizabeth Lang, concluded the hearing on the arguments and said they would deliver the verdict later after considering the oral and written allegations in the very dense case. On a day of heated debates between Mallya's lawyer, Claire Montgomery, and Crown Prosecutor's Office, CPS lawyer, Mark Summers, arguing on behalf of the Indian government, both sides were taken aback by the prima facie fraud and deception case against Mallya. With that being said, that's all for today. Thank you for spending some time with us. If you found this video interesting, make sure to hit the like button and the notification bell and subscribe to our channel to get access to more interesting videos from us. Till next time.